All right. Welcome to the Speak Your Piece podcast. My name is Biggie. I'm Ian McNaughton. I'm by myself because it's baseball. We're talking baseball today. Um, I had this conversation with my father, I don't know, sometime in the last few days, and he said a good title for a baseball podcast would be Ian Talks to Himself for an Hour About Baseball. And that's probably what this will be because I am recording this at 10:43 on Wednesday night. Maybe we'll do some weekly baseball things. And I got to work at 7 a.m., so that should be really great. I don't see a problem there. Who needs 8 hours of sleep? I don't. I haven't for a while. And in case you're watching the video portion of this, I am in my Squamish setup, my Squam setup. So behind me, that's a Jacob deGrom bobblehead pair of sunglasses, I think. Pair of sunglasses, aviators, not mine. I don't wear sunglasses. There's a hockey puck below there, Everett Silvertip's hat and towel behind there, and behind this chair, you can't see it, is my Collingwood Magpies hat, and my Kevin Love jersey's over there. So I basically just moved back into my mother's house in Squamish. So great, wonderful, ideal as a 20-year-old to move back home. Right now, I'm wearing my Canada Rugby World Cup hat, and I got my Manor shirt, golf shirt on. So with this Manor shirt, I don't know if people have seen me wear it. I got two buttons undone. I think a third is like a little too cocky because I don't have chest hair, but one is like not showing enough confidence. I think two is the perfect amount of confidence with this shirt. If you see me with this shirt, I can show you. But if you see it and you know what I'm talking about, I think two buttons undone is enough confidence, especially with this heat and the hot weather we got. Speaking of heat, that was a really bad video portion. Speaking of heat, Joe Kelly threw some high heat at Carlos Correa the other day. Wednesday? So yesterday, Tuesday. Yeah, Joe Kelly really threw some high cheddar at the Houston Astros. Pretty funny. So the context with that. So pretty much the Astros were found cheating this past offseason, banging trash cans, stealing signs, basically ruining the integrity of the game. And Joe Kelly, LA Dodger, decided to throw at these Houston Astros. Now, Kelly was a member of the Boston Red Sox in 2018, I believe, when they won the World Series, and they were also caught cheating to a lesser extent, but still cheating, and got a less penalty than the Astros did. And the Astros, none of them got suspended. None of them, pretty much, none of the players got suspended. They didn't take any of their World Series away, including their one over the Dodgers in 2017. Not great. So Kelly, in their first meeting against the Astros, the Dodgers and the Astros did not get along, and especially Kelly, who didn't give up a run, but I think he beamed a couple guys and threw some high pitches, and then he got suspended by Major League Baseball for 8 games in a 60-game season, which is like equivalent to 22 games, I think it was. That's what the math is, which is kind of ridiculous. Considering that none of the Astro players got suspended for cheating and actually ruining baseball. No. What a concept. So yeah, Kelly should not have been. Well, you can make the argument that Kelly should be suspended. Probably some of the Astros should be suspended not only for cheating and stealing signs and ruining baseball. They should have got suspended for that. They should have got their World Series taken away. But all right, cool. But the fact that none of the Astros got suspended for this, including manager Dusty Baker, who I believe was caught on mic saying, "Go to the fucking mound and pitch." I believe that's what he said. Something along, it might not be exactly what he said, but something along those lines of "go to the fucking mound and pitch" to Joe Kelly when he was beaming some of his players. Now, Dusty Baker was not the manager for the Astros when they won the World Series, or these last few years, or including last year, when they made the World Series but lost in 7 games. Thank you, Washington Nationals. That was A.J. Hinch. A.J. Hinch got fired over the offseason, over the winter. So the Astros replaced him with Dusty Baker. And Dusty Baker is a good manager. People love him. The media love him. Players have been known to like Dusty. Some of the he's an old school manager, so some of the analytics people are a little bit hesitant on him, but all around good guy, means well. He's the perfect manager to fit in after this, winter, this saga that the Astros have been through. And that was very unlike Dusty Baker to say, again, I don't know if he said it like this, but something along the lines of go to the fucking mound and pitch. I mean, here's the thing, is that with that, none of this is Joe Kelly's fault. None of this is the, Astros' fault. None of this is Dusty Baker's fault. None of this is Dave Roberts' fault, who's the Dodgers manager. None of this is any of their fault. You can put some blame on them. They all deserve a bit of blame. But the person who's most responsible for all this is Rob Manfred in Major League Baseball. If he just nipped this in the butt back in January or February, whenever they handed down their punishment, if they just nipped it in the butt then, and I know the Astros basically gave themselves up and were granted immunity, but if he just nipped them in the bud back in February and just dealt with it, because here's the thing, the Astros are one of 30 teams in baseball, and there are at least 20 other teams who are pissed off and are upset with this, with how that situation was handled. Still are right now, as I'm recording this, are upset, pissed off, frustrated. Now, the problem with Major League Baseball and what Rob Manfred did, and he didn't do today, they did not read the room. Manfred did not read the room back in February, and he didn't read the room today. Clearly, he's not getting it. I get that the Astros have total immunity, whatever that's supposed to mean, that they aren't, they did all what they were allowed to do, and they got punished, whatever. I don't even know how to explain it. But really, read the room. Manfred, read the fucking room. People are not happy with baseball because baseball already got pushed back because of COVID. And people were upset that baseball took longer than it should have to come back. Baseball came back a week ago, like last Thursday. It should have come back probably at the beginning of June. But because of the fact that the owners and the players were bickering and fighting over how much money each side should get or how many games they played, it took a lot longer than it should have, and there was no reason for baseball to take this long to start. So baseball fans are upset with that, and any opportunity you had to attract people on the fence or just looking for sports, you lost that, because now hockey and basketball are already back. So people are upset by that. Baseball does not market its stars well. Their social media game is fine, but the one thing you notice with baseball, if you're like me, if you're in like the content, I don't know if I'd say I'm in the I guess I'm in the content world, but I'm on social media. It's part of the SYP brand. It's so hard to get this, like, for fans to see it. You notice in basketball and football, they make their highlights pretty accessible. They make their highlights pretty easy to see. I'm going to say yesterday, Francisco Lindor hit a 412-foot home run. Pretty nice home run in his home ballpark for the Cleveland Indians against the Chicago White Sox. And do you know how hard it was to find that film, to get that and post it on social media? it's a bitch. The Major League Baseball does not make it easy for people to reshare their content or to, get more eyeballs on it. Because that's not how Major League Baseball views it. Major League Baseball views their own stuff, as their property. And while they're not going to, ask you to delete your footage or get rid of it, they just make it a more complicated process than it needs to in comparison to basketball and football. Hockey's more closer to baseball than football and basketball, but it's not good with baseball trying to find their content. The other thing, and I'm going to get into this a little later on as well, is baseball's plan for how they returned was ill-fated. Like, anybody could have told you that traveling from city to city to city was a bad idea. Just ask the Canadian government, who said the Toronto Blue Jays cannot play here. The Blue Jays are not welcome. I shouldn't say that. The Blue Jays are welcome. American teams are not. And that plan was doomed from the beginning. But Major League Baseball is just like, yeah, we'll do this. Why wouldn't it? What's stopping us from doing this? I don't know. Maybe a fucking global pandemic? It's not that hard. So yeah, and then fast forward to today. Joe Kelly gets suspended 8 games. And clearly Major League Baseball does not read the room. Major League Baseball does not get it. They don't see it with the majority of people. And that's fine. They don't have to. It just means they're losing out on fans. The majority of people are backing up Joe Kelly than the Astros. Major League Baseball has been the only one throughout this entire process since February. The last, 6 months have been in the Astros' corner. And I get that it's one of their teams, and I get that Jeff Luhnow, not Luhnow, but who's their owner? Luhnow was their president. I get that their owner is probably one of the nicest, richest owners. He's one of the ideal candidates to run a franchise. Great, cool. You're not reading the room, baseball. You're not reading the room, MLB, as to what the situation has and will have in store for you. Because you are losing fans in a time when there are hardly any sports. Sports are coming back. And sports are coming back, okay? And you want to find a way to stand out and get people interested. That's what gets people interested, is the drama, is the conflict between the Dodgers and the Astros. Joe Kelly throwing at these guys. And you know what you're doing? You're just saying, no, we don't want to have any fun and excitement. We don't want any drama. We don't want any conflict. That's what the NBA and the NFL thrive off of. The NHL doesn't know how to thrive off that, but football and basketball know how to thrive off that. And Major League Baseball does not. And that's why Major League Baseball is going to lose fans. This is one of their most important seasons. 2020 was one of the most important seasons to regain players' trust, to regain fans' trust, to regain interest in baseball. And they haven't done any of that. They've made it worse. And as a baseball fan, I love baseball. It's one of my passions. Probably my first true love was baseball, was going to a game, watching baseball, being with the fans, getting to know the players. It's just heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking to see Major League Baseball not get it. It's heartbreaking being the one person who believes in something when no one else is interested. It's hard to be the guy who wants to talk about baseball, who wants to do a podcast on baseball, but since no one's going to listen to it, I'm going to talk to myself for an hour while everybody else is going to talk about Bull and his scrimmage highlights. It just pains me. It pains me. It frustrates me, and it just makes me sad. And it's unfortunate that Major League Baseball can't see that. It's unfortunate that they're going to lose a lot of people over this. They're going to lose a lot of interest over this. And when it comes to next year, watch out for next year, because the players union is going to file some sort of grievance with the owners for how this salary, whatever season has gone down. And there's a good chance, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see any baseball next year because of the grievance that the union's going to file with the owners this upcoming winter. They just don't get it. I think the players get it. The players don't. And again, the players with this isn't with the joke. This has gone more into actual baseball than it is Joe Kelly and the Astros right now. But the players are a part of why baseball didn't happen right away or as earlier as it could. But I think the players get it. It's just the owners don't. And it's just a domino effect that led into today's suspension of Joe Kelly for 8 games. And I just shake my head and I just don't know how to explain it. I am frustrated, and I'm not even a Dodgers fan. I like the Dodgers. I like watching the Dodgers. Maybe I guess I'm a bit of a fan, but the Mariners are my team, and just as a baseball fan, it sucks. It sucks. That's really the best way to put it. That it sucks as a baseball fan to have to see this. Yeah, that's what I'm going to say on Joe Kelly and the Astros. And that took me about 10 minutes. So maybe this won't be an hour. Maybe it'll be less. Good news for myself because no one else is going to listen to this. Let's talk about the Miami Marlins then. So let's talk about COVID and baseball. So the Marlins, I watched them on Sunday. I was actually watching them on Sunday morning when they were playing the Phillies. They got new unis this year. I don't like their black uniforms because I can't read the names on the back because the nameplate is black too, so it's like black on black. Whoever thought of that clearly was not a genius. But it looks good on the grays. It looks good on the whites from what I've seen. So kudos to the Marlins there. I was watching them Sunday morning. They were playing the Phillies, and I was like, wow, this team's actually like kind of decent because the Marlins have been awful. The Marlins have been pretty much a minor league team for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I don't know. They had Stanton, traded him. Had Christian Yelich reigning NL MVP, traded him. And that's just how awful the Marlins are and how they don't want to pay anybody. Kind of an overarching problem with baseball, but not the point in this story. So Sunday morning, they played the Phillies. I think they won that game. I think they won that game. And things looked to be okay until you realize that actually a lot of them tested positive for COVID. Like half of the roster tested positive for COVID. And I think now, as of Thursday, 17 players or 17 members of the Marlins have tested positive for COVID, and one visiting clubhouse staff member. He's part of the Phillies organization, but he's the visiting bench staff member, if that makes sense, clubhouse staff person. Anyways, he's got COVID. So really, it's like 20 people have COVID. Yeah, great. Isn't that wonderful? Apparently, none of the Phillies tested positive for COVID. So turns out if you play with COVID, you aren't going to pass it along to anybody. I'm pretty sure Major League Baseball already knew that or thought that. That's why we're going from city to city and playing games. It still dumbfounds me. Anyway, so the Marlins, I think, are pretty much done for at least 2 weeks. I don't think they've played any games since Sunday, which is fine because it's not like the Marlins were going to make the playoffs. It's not like they were a contending team. I watched them on Sunday, and I still can't remember who played for that team. Actually, let me search up who played for the Miami Marlins, who's on the Marlins right now. Because they have been an awful team for a long time now. And, actually, MLB added some new rules. Maybe we're going to get a bubble. I doubt it. But let's see here. So on the Marlins roster, I don't recognize any of their starting rotation. Brad Boxberger is their closer? Question mark? Oh, no, this is all alphabetical. Boxberger. I don't recognize any of these other names. Oh, Brandon Kinsler. I think I know that name. I feel like I know that name. Was he with Cleveland? He was not with Cleveland. Okay, I don't know who this guy is. So I know one Francisco Cervelli. He's still playing? Jesus Christ. Cervelli was like a backup catcher on the Yankees like 10 years ago. I'm surprised he's still playing. That goes to show how bad the Marlins are, where they're taking a backup catcher for the Yankees 10 years ago, and they're making him a starter now. Jesus, fuck, how do you say his name again? He used to play for the Brewers. He was in the home run derby one year. I think 2 years ago, actually. I don't want to sound bad on this podcast. Jesus Aguilar? Aguilar. Jesus Aguilar. Aguilar. I'm going to say it's Aguilar. I think that's right. This is really riveting podcasting stuff. Miguel Rojas is no, he's not a young guy. 31. Okay. I thought he was a younger guy. Corey Dickerson? Wasn't he on Cincinnati 10 years ago? Oh, he was on Colorado in 2013. I must be thinking of a different Corey Dickerson. So I know actually 1, 2, 3, 4 players, 4 starters. No, well, 3 starters and a bullpen guy for the Marlins. And do I know any of their other player pool? Nick Vincent, he used to pitch for the Manners and they got rid of him for some reason. Oh, Ryan LaBarnway. Oh, that's nice. Former catcher for the Red Sox. He went to Yale. Shout out Ryan LaBarnway. Lewis Brinson, I think I know. Matt Joyce. No. Well, that turned out to be nice. Don Mattingly still their manager. Ryan LaBarnway. Huh. The more you know. Anyway, so yeah, that team's like half of that roster's got COVID, and they're not going to play again for 2 weeks because the MLB is stupid and they just couldn't figure out how to do a bubble thing in time. And now we're traveling from place to place to place. So I don't think the Marlins have any fans. I think they're pretty used to playing in empty stadiums. They have been, at least since they decided to become a minor league team, playing in a major league, actual major league and major stadium. I mean, like, it was kind of inevitable, wasn't it? I mean, I think it's quite obvious that there were going to be COVID cases. You're going from place to place. Like, I think the Dodgers, there's some part of the Dodgers schedule where they have to go from like Denver, San Francisco to Denver. No, San Francisco to Dallas and then Phoenix. Like that, all in like 10 days, because that makes sense. Like somebody wrote that up since COVID, like since March. Someone wrote that up as like, that's a good idea. That's what's best for baseball, is having a team from California, the most infected state in the U.S. Actually, Florida might be one of the most infected states, top 3 for sure. A team from one of the 3 most infected states traveling to one of the other most infected states. That's smart. That's smart. No. And of course, it was the Marlins. It was going to be the first team to get COVID or have a major outbreak. It was either them or the Rays. Like I think my dad and I made that bet on Sunday night, who was going to be the first team with the major outbreak. And I think we said it was either going to be the Rays or the Marlins, the Florida teams. And as it turned out, the Marlins on Monday morning are like, hey, we actually played knowingly with like positive COVID tests. Hope that's not a big deal. Let's play ball. We'll bat first. And then every other team's like, you did what? You did what? And the Marlins like, yeah, it's not a big deal, guys. It's just, a deadly transmittable, virus. It's not that big of a deal. We get it all the time. It's like, you get it all the time. It's like, hey, yeah, what are you going to do, right? Yeah, so the Marlins suck still. Next team to get the major outbreak, I'm going to guess it's the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays have to travel so much. They went from Tampa to DC, and they're playing their home games in Buffalo, and they're actually they're actually going to get COVID. There's actually going to be a big out. My guess is the Blue Jays. I want to talk about the Blue Jays in a bit, but here's the thing: the Blue Jays, my guess, are the next next team that's going to have a major COVID outbreak. I just don't see how this is going to work with baseball. Like, they're going to continue playing the season, but there's going to be a grievance in the spring, and God knows that the owners are not. They should not win that grievance with what they're making the players do. And somebody thought this was a great idea, and it was cool the first few days. Like, it was fun having opening day. It was fun seeing all the teams play, seeing some of the new jerseys, seeing the new ballpark in Texas. Like, that's all cool. That was really fun. And now we're a weekend, and it's like, holy shit, there's actually a pandemic, and we're actually traveling from place to place to go play these games. I don't know. I just really, I like having baseball, I like watching it, but I'm totally okay if it's gone tomorrow because this pandemic. It's just really with all sports, but baseball, with their plan and how it's all set up, I'm fine if they just say, you know what, we're not going to do it for the health and safety of our players. We're just not going to do it. And then I think everybody wins. Everybody's a little bit happier. Everybody's disappointed, but it's kind of bittersweet. So yeah, that's kind of the thing with baseball. Let's talk about the Blue Jays, because everybody likes talking about the Blue Jays. I think I just killed another 10 minutes, so I'm doing pretty good. I think the Blue Jays might be one of the best teams. They're definitely making the playoffs because they increased the playoffs to 8 teams in each league, so 16 teams total. So each division winner, the top 2 teams in each division make the playoffs, and then they have 2 wild cards. So the Blue Jays realistically are third in their division. I don't know what the actual standings are, but the Yankees are probably number 1. The Rays are number 2. You could probably interchange those, and then the Blue Jays are 3. You'd have to think the Blue Jays make the playoffs. With the Central, it's tough because the Central have probably the Indians and the White Sox that are making it. Actually, the Twins might too. The Twins are really good. I'm sorry for counting out the Twins. Don't talk about the Tigers or the Royals. They're not going to be anywhere near the playoffs, you would think. And in the West, you have the Astros, maybe the A's, maybe the Angels, probably not the Mariners or Rangers. I need to watch more of those teams. But going back to the Blue Jays, they look good. They look solid. Nate Pearson, rookie, had his debut today against the Nationals. I saw some highlights of that. He's looking pretty good for his debut. He's got a nice heater. That's what they really like with him, is his heater. It really comes. I think they have the bats. I really like Biggio, Guerrero Jr., Bichette. Danny Jensen had a nice homer the other day. I think the bats are there, and I think their depth bats are there. The young bats are there. The bats are there. I wouldn't worry about the bats as long as they can, get some timely hits. It's just the pitching has to be good. Starting lineup and pitching, and what you'll see because of the expanded rosters this year is that starters aren't going to go that long. Starters might go 5 innings, and then they're going to throw it to the bullpen because they have healthy extra arms. That might cost some teams. Teams might overuse that a bit much, overthink it. But I think the Blue Jays benefit from it, and the pitching just needs to hold up. And again, we're in a sprint here. We're playing 60 games. They don't need to figure it out in August. I mean, they should have it, or they should get it, if you know what I mean. They can't just figure it out later on down the year. You either have it or you don't. And if the Blue Jays can figure it out, make it work, then they should be good. Again, the Rays are really good in that division. Like, Tampa's probably the best team. The Yankees will probably win it, but Yankees have to stay healthy. Tampa's just fun to watch. I love Tampa. I love their starting pitching. I love their pitching a lot more than the Rays or than the Blue Jays. And their bats are good too. They've shown a lot with their bats this year in the first few games. So the Rays are good. We'll see with Toronto. I think people would like to see. I think it would help Major League Baseball to a certain extent if they had the Canadian audience watching it. Because the Blue Jays are just fun and exciting to watch with their young guys. I say this all the time, but you got Vladdy, you got Bichette, Biggio. They just got to just get on base, get some timely hits, cut down the strikeouts, and they should be good to go. Speaking of which, a player that I'm so glad I get to watch is Alex Verdugo of the Boston Red Sox. So the Red Sox traded Mookie Betts to the Dodgers for Verdugo and some other dude who's already blown out his elbow. And Verdugo is fun to watch, not because he's that good. He's okay. Probably better as a AAA guy. He's a decent outfielder, and he's definitely not worth what the Red Sox got back for Betts. But he reminds me of myself. Plays with reckless abandonment and just does things on his own way, but does not have the talent to make up for playing with reckless abandonment. For example, I was watching the Orioles and Red Sox on Sunday, I believe it was, and somebody hit a ball off the Green Monster in Fenway, and Verdugo was going over to get it, and he picks it up, and he picks it up on 1 foot and throws it back in to the infield, all in one motion, scoops it, throws it, and misses his cutoff man entirely. And it was so fun to watch because he's just a big white guy. Again, reminds me of myself a lot. He's got a good, almost neck beard as well. I think he might be a little ginger. And I love it. I think it's fun. You got to go watch Verdugo play just for the entertainment aspect of it. The Red Sox are probably going to be actually one of the most entertaining teams this year because their pitching is awful. Their bats are decent, but they're not enough, I don't think. Especially when you got rid of Betts. I don't see that. That did not make any sense. And it didn't make any sense when it happened, and it still doesn't now. So Verdugo, I'm really glad I get to see Verdugo play. A team that is surprising me quite a bit. I'm gonna say the Chicago Cubs to a certain extent because I didn't totally buy the David Ross managerial type thing. But I think what we're seeing in baseball to a certain extent now is that it's maybe not all about the manager? ? Aaron Boone's had success with the Yankees. Alex Cora had some success with the Red Sox. Those guys were former players. David Ross, former players, having some success now with the Cubs. It's going to be a really tight division, especially with the Milwaukee, Cincinnati, St. Louis. I don't think Pittsburgh's that good. They got some decent pitching. I don't think they have enough bats. But it's going to be a really, really close Central Division, and the Cubs are surprising me. I think a lot of people wrote off the Cubs because of the, Joe Madden move for David Ross. But, kudos to the Cubs so far for winning their division in the first week. And by that, I mean they're one game ahead of the next team. The team I'm disappointed in the most, I would have to say that's probably, dare I say the Dodgers? No, I shouldn't say the Dodgers. I mean, it's slow. It's early. They played the Giants. They split the Giants when they should have probably beat them. I'm going to say the Red Sox. That's probably not the right answer either. Some mix of Boston in the Dodgers because the Dodgers are obviously with high expectations, and they've been all right. I would have liked them to see a bit better. They really, Sunday night, they just struggled hitting off the Giants pitching, which is a bit of a concern. Just because, it's a sprint. You got to do it now, and there's no time to figure it out. You don't, this isn't April. It's we still got, May, June, and July. No, you got 2 months to if you don't have it by in a couple weeks, you're done. If you can't figure it out. So the Dodgers are a bit of a concern, but also to the Red Sox for a certain extent because of the fact that this team's pitching is not that good. The bats are not there. I mean they got by the Mets tonight, but man, I don't see it with the Red Sox. I don't see it happening. I really just like watching the Red Sox because it's a shit show. There's some funny comments about people talking about the Red Sox, but it's just not there. It's just I think the Blue Jays have a better chance of making the playoffs. I think the Rays are a much better team, much more balanced team, and the Yankees are just a better team in general. So if you ask me, the most happily surprising team, the Cubs. Disappointing, it's like Dodgers, Red Sox to a certain extent. Team that so team a week in you're not giving up on. Team a weekend I'm not giving up on. I'm not gonna give up on. Is the Padres fair? I have to look at the standing. The standings probably have changed since I did my notes on this. I think the Padres are fair to say. Let's take a look here. 4-2. Yeah, I mean, I think the Padres is fair. I mean, you could also put in the Nationals because the Nationals are 2-4 and they've struggled early. You know what? Fuck it. No, I don't quite believe in the Nationals. I'm gonna say the Padres. They're 4-2, but they're third in their division. The Padres have not been bad. I love their uniforms. Their pitching just needs. Here's the thing: both the pitching and the hitting need to come together and work. If you know what that means, like they have it. There's the talent. It's there. Chris Paddock, Perdomo. They got some guys there in San Diego that I really like, and they got some hitters that are like Fernando Tatis Jr., a stud, a young guy that everybody should know, but nobody does because Major League Baseball doesn't know how to market. Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer, Will Myers is still not quite where you'd want him to be, but it's fine. I'm not giving the Padres. I don't want to say I'm not giving up on them because they haven't been playing poorly. They could obviously still win their division. I just, have my concerns with them a bit, but I'm not giving up on them with the pitching matching the hitting. If they can make it all work, and if they can make those uniforms get into the playoffs, I'm ecstatic. Love those Padre uniforms. So going back to the gold and brown was the right decision. One of the few good decisions made in 2020. Overhyped team that you're selling. Man. I mean, again, it's really early. Like, there's no team of, there's only a couple teams that are 500 in the AL West. I'm going to say Rockies or I'll say the Rockies. Okay, yeah, we'll say the Rockies. So my issue with the Rockies, this is really just turned into an NL West podcast. My issue with the Rockies is just that Nolan Arenado, they had a good series win over Texas. Nolan Arenado wanted a trade request because he didn't think the team was being competitive enough. And that was back in the winter going into the spring. I don't know what the vibes must be all right because they're winning, but I feel like there might be some bad vibes. As long as the team keeps winning, and it's okay. But if the team goes into a bit of a slump, how's that going to affect Arenado, who's probably the best third baseman in baseball, and the rest of the team? That's a concern. So really the Rockies right now are 4-1 with the best winning percentage in their division. I just don't see it happening right now with them. Also, I would sell a little bit on the Tigers because they're 4-2. I don't think the Tigers are that good. But again, what do I know? Shout out Rod Gardenhire, former Twins manager, old school guy, really fun guy, cool dude. Got the Tigers at least to a decent record to start with. And who I have making the playoffs. Okay. So in the AL, we have the Astros so we have 8 teams in each league, in the American League and the National League. So we have the Athletics and the Astros We're going to have the Twins and the Indians. We're going to have the Yankees, Rays, and Blue Jays. And if I had to put one more team, I'm going to put in the Angels. I'm going to put in the Angels. So Athletics, Astros, Angels, Twins, Indians, and Blue Jays, Rays, Yankees. I think I don't know how they. I guess they're doing a 1 and 8. I guess they're doing the seeding. So I would say it's probably going to be the Yankees and Blue Jays, and then Houston. This is tough. Yeah, I'm not going to do the seeding right now. I gave you my teams. All right. In the NL, I'm going to say in the NL that the Braves make it, the Cubs make it, the Brewers make it, the Cardinals make it, the Dodgers make it, the Padres make it, and I got two more teams that I'm thinking are going to make it. I'm going to say the Phillies, and I'm going to say no, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm resisting so hard. Okay, I'll put in the Reds. I have four teams in the NL Central making the playoffs. So what I say Braves, Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals, Reds, Dodgers, Padres. Who else did I say? Phillies. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. Braves, Phillies, Cubs, Brewers, Cardinals, Reds, Dodgers, Padres in the NL. So the 16 teams that are going to make it to the playoffs. This is just a weekend. Great time to make picks. So you have in the AL, in the American League, you have Houston and Oakland. Coming from the Central, you have Houston, Oakland, and the Angels from the West. From the Central, you have Cleveland, Minnesota. And then in the East, you have the Yankees, Tampa, Toronto. So that's your 8. Not necessarily in that order. Just those are your 8 teams. And then in the NL, you have Atlanta, Philly. And then you have the Cubs, the Brewers, the Cardinals, and the Reds. And then in the West, you have the Dodgers and the Padres. There you go. That is who is going to make the playoffs. In terms of players, watch Fernando Tatis Jr. Really fun player from the Padres to watch. Anybody on the Dodgers are great. Christian Yelich is obviously having a great year. This is obvious. I'm trying to think of like some under the radar player that you should be watching. The Blue Jays are obvious. Come on, Ian. There's got to be somebody that you really. I'm going to say Tim Anderson. I'll say the White Sox. They're 2-4 right now. They're 4th in their division. I would like to see them make the playoffs because I think they have a nice young squad of players. And Tim Anderson's leading the way for the White Sox. They really need to cut down on their strikeouts. Like the Blue Jays need to cut down on their strikeouts, and then the White Sox really need to cut down on their strikeouts. So Tim Anderson, second baseman, speedy guy, can hit really well. Even's got a bit of power in him. He's not, he can knock one out of the park too. I'm going to say Tim Anderson of the Chicago White Sox is a guy that you should really watch and pay attention to and keep an eye out on for the rest of this year. Yeah, that's the podcast for Speak Your Piece Baseball. Ian talks about baseball for an hour. I don't think it's been an hour. I think it's been more like 45 minutes. So I hope you enjoy it. Watch some baseball. Send us any social media thing that you think we might be interested in with baseball. I love baseball. Talk to me about baseball. It's great. It's going to be fun, hopefully. And if you're a Marlins fan, A, why did you decide to root for the Marlins? That's like the worst team you could root for in baseball. And B, are you actually happy? Like Marlins fans, I think should actually be happy they don't have to go through this bullshit with COVID, like stopping their team. So if there's any Marlins fans that are listening to it, let us know. If you have any questions for the podcast or you want to send any questions to us, have us answer anything on the podcast, send it to syppodcast@gmail.com. That's all lowercase. syppodcast, all one word, @gmail.com, and we'll answer it, or we'll just respond with a cool gift. Anyways, that's the podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and have a great rest of your night, morning, day, whatever. Yeah, cool. Peace out.